I know what you're thinking. What's with the monkey? I'm Robbie Williams. I'm one of the biggest pop stars in the world. But I've always seen myself a little less evolved.
Now scream, whoa!
You've got to risk it all, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Hello, and what you just saw was the trailer for Better Man, and I know for most of my viewers, they're probably asking two questions. What is with the monkey, and who the hell is Robbie Williams? Hi everyone, I'm Lance the Obscure Movie Guy, and I'm here to talk to you all things Better Man and Robbie Williams as we dive into today's video, because I'm about to geek out hardcore because Robbie Williams is my all-time favorite entertainer, performer, singer. I am obsessed with the man. I have been for many, many years. And unbeknownst to most of the American audience for this video, they have no idea who he is. So let's dive into all things Robbie Williams and Better Man. So Better Man was written and directed by Michael Gracie with the help of Robbie Williams himself, obviously. This is a biopic. This is based off of the life of Robbie Williams, who is, in fact, one of the largest pop stars in the world, even though he is not hardly known at all in America. Now, if you're not familiar with Michael Gracie, well, he was the mastermind behind The Greatest Showman, starring Hugh Jackman. And in fact, Robbie Williams had a hand in convincing Hugh Jackman to take the role for The Greatest Showman. According to an interview with Michael Gracie, he had Robbie Williams talk to Hugh Jackman over the phone and help convince him into taking that role. And I would say I'm not a huge fan of musicals. The Greatest Showman wasn't my favorite movie, but it was executed very, very well. And I'm hoping for the same out of Better Man. Which brings us to, how did Better Man even come about? Well, Michael Gracie is friends with Robbie Williams, and Michael Gracie said in an interview with Deadline Hollywood that every time they had a conversation together, Robbie always seemed to have some crazy, wild story from his early part of his career that he thought was super interesting. So what he did was he ended up recording these conversations later on and had about 18 hours of archive conversation to go through, and thought, man, this would make a crazy, crazy movie. And that's going to bring us to, well, what the hell's up with the monkey? Oftentimes in those conversations, Gracie had stated that Robbie Williams would often say that he felt like he was a performing monkey, whether it be performing for his family, performing on stage, performing in a music video, performing for the studios. Things often circled back around to Robbie feeling like he was this performing monkey just made to put on an act. So that is why Robbie is depicted as a monkey in this film. And I think that's actually a brilliant way to display that. I think a lot of entertainers at some point in their careers probably would have the same sentiment. They feel like a performing monkey, or they feel like a puppet. You have to do this, you have to go there, you got to sing this, you got to say that, you got to sell this, you got to promote this. So I can see where Robbie would come off kind of feeling like a performing monkey throughout the early part of his career. Now, for those of you who still don't know why or how Robbie Williams is so popular, let's run down some of the information. He is the #1 best-selling UK artist of all time. He has 14 studio albums, 10 of which I own myself, 77 million records sold worldwide, 18 Brit Awards, 12 Echo Awards, and held the Guinness Book of World Records for the most sales tickets sold in a single day back in 2006, when he announced he would be going on his Close Encounters tour, and promptly sold 1.6 million tickets for that world tour in one day. The irony is, for most Americans, they've actually heard some of his songs. Honestly, he's been in a lot of, well, not a lot of movies, but his songs have been in a lot of movies that you have probably seen. Who's doing the remake of We Are the Champions at the end of A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger? Oh, that's Queen and Robbie Williams. Who's singing Collision of Worlds with Brad Paisley at the end of Cars 2? Oh, that's Robbie Williams. That was also nominated for an Oscar, by the way. Who's that singing Beyond the Sea at the end of Finding Nemo? Ah, that's Robbie Williams. Who's singing Miss Jones in Bridget Jones's Diary? Robbie Williams. Theme song for Johnny English? Robbie Williams. Who's that guy singing in the background during DeLovely? Robbie Williams. You guys have probably seen or heard some of his songs. You just don't know it because he is obscure here in America. But he's not obscure in the music industry, as we've heard. He has sung a number of duets over the years with very many, much more popular people here in America. Let's name a few. Lily Allen, Kelly Clarkson, John Lovitz, Nicole Kidman, Avicii, Mark Ronson, the Pet Shop Boys, Michael Bublé, Ollie Murs. These are all people that he's done songs with. He's also performed on stage with the likes of Joss Stone, Barry Manilow, and even showed up at a Taylor Swift concert in the UK, and then upshowed Taylor Swift.
Sit and wait. Does an angel contemplate my fate? And do they know the places where we go when we're gray and old?
'Cause I've been told that salvation lets the winds unfold. So when I'm lying in my bed, thoughts running through my head.
And now that you know a little bit more about who and what Robbie Williams is, let's break down the trailer a little bit. It's only about a minute long. It's got a lot of quick cuts. It does look pretty entertaining. And from what I can tell over my obsessiveness with the man, the movie's only going to cover probably the first 13 to 15 years of his career, and then maybe a little bit of up-to-date of his career. But mostly what I can tell in the trailer, it's going to cover from 1990-ish to about 2003, which would cover the start of his career with Take That. And if you're not familiar with them, Take That was a boy band. It was the UK version of New Kids on the Block for you Americans. So it's going to cover that, and from probably when he separated from the band in roughly, I believe, 1994, and then the start of his solo career, and then the pinnacle of his career, which was Nebworth in 2003. So how did I come to these conclusions? Well, based on my obsessiveness with the man. Now, I may not be 100% accurate, but I'm pretty confident in these guesses. This first one here, I would say probably is going to be roughly 1994. It looks like it could be the Take That Live at Wembley show. And then if you move on, this outfit looks very reminiscent of this outfit from 1998 when he starred on stage with Tom Jones. And then this looks like a back shot from the Royal Albert Hall show in 2001. This would be the front shot. And then obviously towards the end of the trailer, probably which will also be towards the end of the movie, you have Nebworth, which you have him hanging upside down, the same outfit, black shirt with the white tie, massive crowd, and then of course his iconic line from the movie, which is also iconic from most of his shows.
Up in the next 2 hours, your ass is mine!
So there's a quick trailer breakdown of Better Man and how I think the story is going to unfold. Now, you may be wondering why I say Nebworth is the pinnacle of Robbie's career, and pretty much because it was. 2003, he was coming off of his album Escapology, or Escapeology is how us Americans say it. But everything up through then, Robbie can credit most of his career, solo career, to Guy Chambers. Guy Chambers is a brilliant songwriter, and him and Robbie, just about all of his solo albums up to Escapology was done hand in hand in conjunction with one another, and it worked really well. 2003 Nebworth, I say that's the pinnacle because that was at the height of his career. Nebworth was a live show that took place over the course of 3 days, and over the course of those 3 days, 375,000 people came out, 125,000 people a night, to watch this guy perform and sing. Sadly, on that same album, Escapology, there was a track called Come Undone, which was written by Robbie. He presented it to Guy Chambers, and Guy didn't think it was a very good song. It was about a lot of self-deprecation, reflection, and depression. All of which are going to be things that is going to be focal points throughout the course of this movie. From that moment on, Robbie and Guy Chambers broke up for a very long time. And the movie is probably going to highlight a lot of mental illness because Robbie's been very open throughout the course of his career, especially in the later part of his career that he's still going on, he's still singing. But he's been very open about the struggles he's had as a teenager, as a young adult, and even still as in his 50s with mental depression, anxiety, sleeping disorders, eating disorders. And a lot of that has gone hand in hand. And I think he's probably been the most open celebrity. He's probably been the most open celebrity I've seen to talk about the struggles that they have mentally on a really personal level. And a lot of his songs reflect that. Come Undone was one of the first ones that he had written that was in relation to stuff like that. He wanted to express how he was feeling in a musical way. And when your partner in crime basically tells you it's not very good. And I don't think Guy Chambers meant it in a personal way. Guy comes from the mentality of he knows what's going to sell. He knows what's going to make a good song. But Robbie was kind of getting over that and wanted to just kind of self-express at this point. Once they broke up, Robbie got with some other writers. He came out with another album in 2006. As we said earlier, the Close Encounters tour was in 2006. That was also the same year that Rude Box came out. And unfortunately, Rude Box was an epic commercial failure on all fronts. Did not sell well at all. In fact, there were rumors years later that leftover albums were crushed and used for asphalt in China, which wouldn't surprise me. China, I don't think, has the best build quality in any capacity. Regardless, Robbie did not get back with Guy Chambers until like 2016. Now, he did release albums throughout the course of those years. And after 2006 and after the commercial failure of Rude Box, he kind of went a little isolated, kind of became a hermit. Obviously, it didn't help his depression. And in 2009, he came out with Reality Killed the Video Star, which was partially done with Trevor Horn from the Bugles, the people that did, Video Killed the Radio Star. In 2010, he released a Greatest Hits album. Of course, I have it. But again, it wasn't until about 2016 that he got back with Guy Chambers. They did the Heavy Entertainment show where, again, they started collaborating on a more regular basis. And again, he still has a lot of songs that are of self-reflection, self-deprecation, depression, and stuff like that. But I think Robbie has more control over his own writing these days versus the younger Robbie. And I think Guy Chambers works with him a little bit better now versus then. Robbie does have a couple of swing albums. He's got a Christmas album. There's something for everybody when it comes to Robbie Williams music. He is a pop star, but he's touched on pretty much every genre. Maybe not a full album, but at least a couple of songs. He does have 2 swing albums, as I said, and a Christmas album, so we were all very happy about that when it finally came out. But Escapology, 2003, that's really the pinnacle of his career. Nothing's necessarily, for me, been a downgrade. It's been a growing. As he's grown older, his music has grown, I think, a little bit better from a personal standpoint. But that might just be me. I mean, obviously, his classics are always going to be his best stuff commercially, but I think his writing overall has gotten a lot better throughout the course of his career, and he's still kicking. He did a tour last year. He did a world tour last year. Did not come to North America because nobody knows him here, people. But he has had a residency at the Wynn in Las Vegas. He's done that a few times, actually. The Wynn had him out there for quite a few times as a residency. So there's that. I could always go to Vegas and maybe catch a show. Other than that, I'm probably not going to ever see Robbie Williams live. So this will be the best thing for me. It's kind of a bucket list thing to see him live, but I'll go see the movie. That'll probably be the best and closest I can get, and I'll roll with that. Now, if you really want to get a good look at what Robbie Williams is about, obviously you can always look him up on YouTube. There's a lot of videos. You could definitely look up some of his interviews that he's had with like Jonathan Ross. You know, if he's been on the Jonathan Ross show a couple times. He's been on Graham Norton a few times. He's always got a great story to tell. I mean, Jonathan Ross, there's a great interview where he talks about Elton John taking him to rehab as a young man. And Graham Norton always pulls the best stories out of him. So, here's a couple of shots of Anna Kendrick during one of his stories on the Graham Norton show. I don't want to dive into that one too much because it's not very kid-friendly at all, but you should definitely check it out and look it up. There is a docu-series on Netflix that you can look up. I believe it's 4 or 5 episodes. I don't remember exactly how many. It does have a total runtime of 200 minutes. I highly recommend it. It gives a really, really good insight into Robbie's career, his mental state at the time versus his mental state now, and it is a docu-series of self-reflection. Robbie is looking and watching some of the footage of himself from early on in his career. Most stories or most videos that he never even saw, maybe at the time never even knew that were being filmed, and in large in part didn't even really remember. So definitely look that up. You can also look up his 2003 Nebworth concert on Netflix as well. Runtime on that's roughly 2 hours, and definitely check that out. It is a compilation. It is an edited version of the 3 days put together, but you can't even tell. It's been edited very well. So, but guys, that's going to do it for me on this. I'm super excited about this movie coming out December 25th in the UK, and then January 17th for us here in the US. And go check out Robbie Williams online. Go look him up on YouTube. Check out the Netflix series. And for me, like, subscribe, comment to the video. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your feedback on Robbie Williams if anybody's a fan of his. Yeah, share the video with your friends, family. I'll see everybody in the next one.